today by Jason Thomas, who's Global CEO of Tappit. Jason, perhaps you can just sort of introduce yourself, tell everyone a bit about your career path to date, and maybe any standout moments for you.
Sure, thank you. So my background originally was record companies. So I worked for Sony, I worked for Virgin, internationally, including quite a lot of work in the US. And then when everybody stopped buying records because of the internet, that's how old I am, I then started to look into the live sector and started working for ticketing companies, including working for HMV and running the ticketing and live department. And after that, I then ran I was part of the executive team for a digital ticketing company called TicketScript. And we sold that business a couple of years ago to Eventbrite in the US. So I spent all my time really in tech and the entertainment sectors. I've worked with clients such as Formula One, MTV, Live Nation, the Football Association, World Rugby, Wembley Stadium, AEG, and plenty of others. So I've got 20 years plus of years experience plus of working in the event sector.
There's a few well-known names in there that everyone will definitely know about. So obviously, just recently we heard the exciting news that Kansas City Chiefs are going cashless. And obviously, they're using the payment technology to make Arrowhead Stadium cashless. And obviously, Tappit has been involved in that process. So perhaps you can tell us a bit about the project and how it came about and what Tappit's going to be delivering.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. We originally started the discussion as a consultancy piece, if you like, initially with the Kansas City Chiefs. We have various cashless solutions, whether they be RFID related, that can link to season tickets, or we can sometimes have mobile solutions that link to the app of the sports organisation. In the end, the solution we've been working on with the Kansas City Chiefs is we're now their official in-app mobile payment provider, and the idea behind that is effectively fans can make purchases via their mobile phone via the app of the Kansas City Chiefs, and our solution is in the background there, which will allow them to effectively pay at the pro shop or at food and beverage outlets within the stadium, etc. And the important thing from the Kansas City Chiefs perspective is they will receive then the data of the fan, and we hook that up with ticketing data and other data, so they get one view of the fan and their behaviour, so they can start to incentivize fans to increase average spend, as an example, increase and improve the fan experience. We've been in conversation with them, Kansas City Chiefs, now for a period of time. So we're very pleased to finally announce the partnership.
And obviously, you guys work with Manchester City, and I know you work with festivals around the world. So is this your first sort of foray into the United States, or have you got a base there, or how does the structure look?
Yeah, so we've always been a global business. Certainly in the last 2 years since I've been at the business, we've worked in the Middle East, Southeast Asia, Europe, and predominantly really in the Middle East and Europe. We started to get some inquiries from the US probably around 9 to 12 months ago. And it became very clear, I think, in the US that the way the fan experience works for them is very different from certainly sporting organisations, or even event organisations maybe in other parts of the world. The main difference being really they don't deal with consumables in the same way as, say, sporting organisations do in Europe. And what I mean by that is they don't deal with physical tickets in the same way. So there's been a big move in the last sort of 2 or 3 years for most of the organisations really to have mobile ticketing. So most of the fans at the Arrowhead, for instance, the majority of fans there use the app already to gain entry. So for us, having originally had started meetings over there, say 12 months or so ago, became quite apparent that for us to launch a mobile solution was pretty key. And we've just seen the interest in the US really be extremely significant over the last sort of 9 months, but then particularly because of COVID, in the last 3 to 4 months, we've just seen that interest really gather pace. And I think two things have happened really. One is that organisations that were considering going cashless are now going cashless, and then I think organisations that had decided to go cashless pre-COVID, but we're going to go cashless and evolve it by the side of traditional methods, still including aspects and elements like cash, for instance, have now decided to obligate completely cashless environments. So we've now got a base in the US, set up in Texas. We've been growing our team over there for the last 6 months or so, and we will continue to do that. And we're very confident that the Chiefs will only be the first of probably many deals, and some of which I think we'll be announcing in the next couple of months. So yeah, the US is a significant focus for us over the next probably 2 years, but we still won't lose sight, particularly of markets in Europe and the Middle East.
And then how do you sort of foresee moving forward? I mean, obviously over the last 6 months, technology has played a vital role, and everyone's lives have changed. And I think obviously whatever we do in our everyday life always then translates into what we do in sports and entertainment venues. So, how do you foresee the whole sort of technology piece evolving across that landscape?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think innovation now seems to be at the forefront of many organisations' minds. I think what's become really apparent is that for some organisations, when fans act physically within their stadiums or within their environments, unless they've over the last period of time really taken data seriously and really had an understanding of their fans, it's become a challenge for them really to keep the correspondence, if you like, really valid with fans. So I think going forward, I think that idea of really getting to understand the behaviour of fans and really showing the importance of data is set. I think we're probably never going back to cash in the same way as we've done previously. And I think clubs at the moment and organisations and event owners who are not really looking to innovate, whether it be through us or any other tech partners, they're going to struggle going forward. I mean, one of the things it became apparent to me, having had a record company background, was I think, in those days when, 20 years ago, as an example, 15 years ago, was, I used to deal with, retailers and, let's say music retailers who really didn't take seriously streaming and, downloading as an example. And they didn't grasp the nettle early, and they didn't innovate, and they struggled or they went out of business. And I think we're going through the same for event owners. I think those who don't look at technology partners to really get them to understand the fans, really get them to experience and improve that fan experience, and also, give them some comfort around safety and their staff around safety, I really think are going to struggle going forward. So I think it's an exciting time actually in a lot of ways, because there is a lot of innovation out there, and I've really seen a shift, I think, in attitudes in the last sort of 3-4 months of event organisers really reaching out to different tech companies to see how they can improve that experience and get people back feeling safe.
And would you say, sort of over sort of the last 5-6 months, obviously we've all had to change the way that we work, no longer are we heading off to the airport, sort of every other week. So are there any sort of key takeaways or, like lessons that you've learned that you're going to, continue and take forward, when we hopefully get back to life under a albeit new normal?
I mean, I think again, as I sort of mentioned earlier, I think certainly some lessons that have been learned both internally and externally is that communication element again of really understanding, you know, people you're working with internally, people you're working with externally, and trying to help external partners really continue that dialogue and find innovative ways really to engage with their fans when they're not physically there. And I think that will hopefully continue, is that need really to break down the barrier between an event owner and the fans, and really understand their behaviour, their preferences, and finding innovative ways really to keep the dialogue going when you're out of season, or you know, when, as I say, they're not physically in the stadium. Because I think one of the challenges most particular stadium and venue owners have is how do you fill, you know, your venue or your stadium 365 days a year. And, you know, outside of, let's say, your core business, if it's football or sport or, you know, music as an example, and unless you really understand the different types of demographics coming into that venue or that stadium throughout the year, and really trying to you know, see who your most valuable attendees are for an example, and really what their preferences are and how you can keep that dialogue going. As I say, I think you'll struggle, and I think there are a lot now of major organisations who are spending a lot of resource and a lot of time to really get to understand that piece. And I think if you're not one of them, you will start to lose business to some of these more forward-looking businesses.
I think you're right. You know, sort of data is definitely going to be king moving forward. And like you say, you know, if people haven't put the time and effort in over the last 6 months and evolved their offering, they could well get left behind. So thanks so much for your time, Jason. We'll look forward to following your and Tappit's evolution over the next while. And thanks again for your time.
You're welcome, Katie. Good to speak to you.
And you.
Take care. Bye-bye now.